Thank you very much. I am honored to be here. I was in your shoes about 18 years ago, and time flies. When I was first asked to be on the board, at the Alumni board, I was an honor, and then they quickly followed up to say, you have a 45-minute presentation that you're supposed to do to introduce yourself. And so I looked at that and said, that's a lot of time. But then I realized, most importantly, I am the leading expert on today's topic, which is me. So I can talk about myself for at least 45 minutes, and if anyone has a question or a comment, I'm pretty informal. Hopefully we'll laugh a little bit. Hopefully I won't cry any. But we'll start with my name, Bappa. It means loved one. When you call me that, I won't believe that you're telling me that, but it rhymes with Papa, so I don't pretend to be Hemingway, but, Mukherji, a little bit harder than Bappa. It rhymes with Booker T. Probably most of you are too young to remember Booker T and the MGs. But so it's always been easy. Actually, my first boss always called me Papa Booker T after I told him that, and I still do it for some reason. Let me tell you a little bit about my family. As I said, I've been married for 18 years to my wife, Catherine. I've got 4 children that all kind of go to school now across the street from Owen at University School. So I've got Anjali, who I don't know where she is at the moment, but she is now a teenager and got her driver's permit. Then I've got my older son, Evan, my younger daughter, Serena, and my youngest son, Aaron, who that's one of his more sane looks. So this is my family. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to write a short story or take something, but they say, never put a gun on the table in the first couple of pages unless you're going to use it. My family is an important plot point a little bit later, so I'm just setting the table here as what's going on. As I said, I went to Caltech for 4 years, and it was between University of Chicago, MIT, and Caltech were my choices. I visited MIT and University of Chicago in February. It was very cold. I talked to one of my friends going there, and he said, yeah, we recognize each other from our outerwear for 3 months a year and never see each other's faces, so I decided to go to Caltech, which was 30 minutes from the beach. If that looks familiar, that's actually where they filmed the show Numbers right now, too. Anyway, I graduated in 1991 with a BS in economics, and then, of course, as you well know, I came here for 4 years and got my JD and MBA. So like Dean Bradford, my early career was to be an attorney, and I did recover from that after about 3 years of practice. A couple of interesting highlights. My first case was actually a first-degree murder case. It was my only criminal case, but don't read too much into that. She is out of jail. So, but at the end of the day, this was actually before I actually passed my bar exam. I could not start practicing, and my firm could not bill me out at the exorbitant amounts that they wanted to bill me out. So a person that I had interned with a year before had a first-degree murder case that was actually televised on Court TV, and they asked if I could do it. The judge gave me special permission, and I handled all the expert witnesses. So just another little interesting anecdote. The first person I ever cross-examined was the state medical examiner for the state of Tennessee. And my first question was, after, what is your name, was, how many criminal cases have you testified in? He said, I don't know, at least 1,500. And I said, well, this is my first. Tell me if I do something wrong. So anyway, went from there, but mostly did mergers and acquisitions and corporate finance-related work, which is a little bit more fitting with my background of going to be in economics and having my MBA. Was practicing there, doing quite well. For the first few years, after about 2.5 years, they told me, you don't have to worry about anything, you are going to make partner here in a few years. And went home, thought about that, and came back very quickly and quit. And that may seem odd, and I'll tell you why. I always knew I wanted to start my own business at some point. And if I got too used to the lifestyle of being an attorney and got too used to the money that you make being an attorney, and then when you become a partner in a law firm, leaving becomes a very difficult challenge. I was at that point married and said, look, if I don't take a chance early, I'm probably never going to take a chance later in my life. So, thought about it, didn't tell my wife about it. That was a mistake. And quit, came home and told her I quit. That was at least good, but probably a day later than it should have happened. And, but anyway, she, after about a month, was very supportive and went out and started a different company. One of the things as an attorney, what you find is, I mean, you're selling your time. I mean, you're billing your time, you're selling your time. The day you take a vacation, you're not getting paid. The day you retire, you're not getting paid anymore. And I knew that at some point or another that I liked taking vacations and didn't want to retire, so I still wanted to find a way to make money and wanted to start some company that would build a brand and build something that would have value outside of me picking up the phone or dealing with one of my clients' problems. So in one of the things that we talked about, people that you may go into business with, a person I went to business school and I started this company called Guy Brown Products back in 1999. And I guess I can tell you the best thing that we figured out then was green was going to be big. The environmental movement was going to be big. Back in 1999, besides Al Gore, after he just invented the internet, and decided that it was time to now reinvent the environment. But no one else was really talking about this, and we decided to start a company to manufacture recycled products. So we manufactured recycled toner cartridges back in the fourth quarter of 1999. And one of the things I did not do, which in retrospect I should have done here, was take an entrepreneurship class, because we had a great business plan about how we're going to make a very good product. World-class, high-tech product, better than anybody else, or at least as good as anybody else in the industry. And the one thing we completely forgot was a marketing plan. We had no idea how we were going to sell this product once we made it. But we were fortunate. We began manufacturing fourth quarter of 1999. The city of Los Angeles actually became, our manufacturing facility was in LA, which then was kind of the Silicon Valley for recycled toner. That's now, I believe, if you watch 60 Minutes, you'll find it is the porn capital of the world, but it wasn't at the time. It was all about toner cartridges back then. And so we started our facility in the fourth quarter of 1999. The city of LA was actually looking to move to recycled toner as opposed to OEM toner. They came and visited 12 different facilities. They selected us to be their first supplier. And the power of networking, they were very excited about being this. And now if you're the city of Los Angeles, you're getting to work, this was when Richard Riordan was mayor, all the big companies were moving out of LA because it was just a hard place to run a manufacturer. It's really a hard place to run a business. And there was a lot of regulations, a lot of taxes, a lot of other things. And so they said, hey, the secret to Los Angeles is going to be revitalizing small businesses. And so they created this new office called the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. And we sort of became the poster child for the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. We were a locally owned, or as we grew, we were creating jobs in the Los Angeles area. On top of that, we were saving the city money by buying our products over buying OEM products. I believe in the first year, they're only buying 10 SKUs from us in the first year, but even then we saved them over $160,000, so they were pretty excited about that. And it was an environmentally friendly product, which of course in Los Angeles was a great thing. So they began, as part of their economic development, introducing us to other customers in and around the LA area that they had some sway over. And that included the Walt Disney Company, who became a customer of ours as well after a presentation. Well, one of the things that both Disney and the city of Los Angeles had in common is they were actually buying all of their office supplies from Office Depot. And we didn't have any leverage with Office Depot, but they certainly did, because Los Angeles, not only being a very large county, was the leader of the National Association of Counties, which is Office Depot's single largest customer. And they said, you're going to start stocking Guy Brown toner cartridges across the country because we want to start buying them. And Office Depot, sure enough, said, okay. So in the year 2000, we became a national distributor for Office Depot, solely on their B2B side, not on the retail shelves. In 2001, we became a national supplier to Boise Cascade Office Products, which is now Office Max. And again, they were at the time the largest B2B supplier of office supplies. And then in the year after that, 2002, we became a supplier to what was then Corporate Express, which was the second largest B2B office supplier in the US, which was then later acquired by Staples. So in a pretty short period of time, we became a supplier to three of the four largest office supply distribution companies in the United States. And then sure enough, when we talked about reinventing yourself, we decided, after we had those three in 2002, we should just actually compete with them. So we decided we were going to start distributing office supplies and turned our 3 largest customers into competitors. In retrospect, we probably could have done this a little bit more smoothly as well, but it turned out to be very good for us. What we ended up doing was forming a joint venture ultimately with Office Max, so we felt like was the best player in the space. And we used them as a strategic supplier. They had $9 billion in purchasing power. We did not. They had warehouses all over the country. We did not. So we kind of leveraged off of them and created our own infrastructure on top of that to sell office supplies. And that joint venture was called Concerto Office Supplies. In about 3 years after we established that, we had grown that to a little over $100 million a year in sales. What then ended up happening in about a few years after that, Sarbanes-Oxley came along. And it became a huge hassle for us to really work with a publicly traded company in a joint venture where we owned 60% of it and they owned 40% of it, but they had so many rules and regulations about how they want to report. We said, we want to be a small business. So we ended up buying them out of the joint venture in 2007 when we were doing just over $100 million a year in sales with them. Our run rate was just about $150 million at that time. We then merged Concerto Office Supplies into the existing Guy Brown products, which was still mostly a product manufacturing company. In the meantime, Guy Brown had also got into manufacturing file folders, legal pads, envelopes. We had several domestic manufacturing facilities. Again, in retrospect, domestic manufacturing of commodity items wasn't really the best business plan. We got out of the actual manufacturing in about 2009. But we merged it into, and we had a combined revenue of about $150 million. At the time, we were the 5th largest office supply dealer in the United States, and of course, no one had ever heard of us because we did no retail whatsoever. It was solely business-to-business sales, solely face-to-face sales, solely selling to Fortune 500 companies, hospitals, and universities. Purely focused when we were competing with Staples, Office Max, and Office Depot. Those are the only folks we ever ran into. And people asked, hey, how do you compete with these guys? At the time, Staples was a $18 billion a year company. Now they're a $26 billion a year company, and we were a $150 to $200 million a year company. So how do you compete with them? And we said, well, we have a focus. And I cannot do mail order like Staples. I'm not going to run retail like Staples. I can't do mid-market or home office type business like an Office Depot or an Office Max can. But I'll tell you what, if you're a Fortune 500 company with a sophisticated buying organization distributed across the country, we'll do that better than anybody else in the country. And we're pretty good at it. You've probably heard of most of these folks. These were just a sample of some of our customers. But again, everything was in our focus of either selling to hospitals, universities, or Fortune 500 companies. And some of these are pretty large contracts. Some of them are not so large, but their names are pretty large. We're probably the largest in pharmaceutical at the time with Johnson & Johnson and GlaxoSmithKline, and I guess we had 4 or 5 at Sanofi, Aventis, Eli Lilly. We actually sold more to pharmaceuticals than Staples did. But it was a fun little business that we had for a while. I ran that as CEO from when we founded it in 2010. Our growth was pretty good. I was pretty happy with even the 2001, 2002, but when you went from 2 to 5 million, that was pretty exciting at the time. It looks kind of small on this graph, but it was really, really exciting at the time. Obviously, between 2007 and 2008, huge jump, but that was partially because of the partial year acquisition of our JV, which bumped up sales. 2009 was not a good year for the office supply industry in general. It wasn't really a good year for the economy in general. And we were down, it was the first time in our corporate existence, really, that we had to plan to actually have lower sales. Very different than when you were going through being an Inc. 500 company every year. But we were down 11% that year. Only good thing I can say about that is Staples, Max, and Depot were all down by more than 20% that year. But we got it back on an upward trajectory. And then I resigned in November 2010. Again, this was kind of another one of these reinvent yourself moments, but I guess everybody at the time was asking why. Why are you going to leave Guy Brown? And I got this beautiful model to step in for me on this picture, so just have to, if I can find him. But ultimately, I really thought my life was in some good balance. I wasn't. I was traveling 4 to 5 days a week, every single week. I didn't see my 4 lovely children. I didn't see my wife. That's probably why we're still married for 18 years. We had about 10 years I didn't see her. One of the things, I'll point out this a little bit later, my wife's type 1 diabetic. I was I remember when I resigned in November, in October of 2010, I got a call. I was in Dallas, Texas, visiting a customer. It was 7 o'clock in the morning, and then my 7-year-old daughter called me and said, I can't wake Mom up. Her blood sugar's low. And I couldn't do anything. I was in Dallas, Texas. I was, 8 hours away, 10 hours away by car, 3 hours away by plane. And then I realized this was not the way I wanted to live my life. And because I could I got those types of phone calls when my oldest daughter was that young, but we had people there all the time. And then my older daughter was there. Everything was fine, but it just was one of those moments in your life you realize and you kind of reflect and say, hey, is this what I want to do for the remainder of my life? And I didn't want to. So that's why I quit. Decided my plan was to relax for 6 to 9 months. I'd been traveling nonstop for about the last 7 years, ever since we had the JV and we were really going after in the office supply business, and said, hey, I'm going to sit back, kick back on the beach for 6 to 9 months and do absolutely nothing and work on what I considered to be a huge personal challenge, the personal pasta problem. And what is that? My children eat pasta every day. I mean, every day. Sometimes twice a day. They love pasta. I think they're probably more Italian than Indian, but they love pasta. As I told you, my wife's a type 1 diabetic. High carbs is not a good thing for a type 1 diabetic. So we have a dilemma every single day as I become a short order cook now and have to cook 4 or 5 different meals because no one can eat the same thing. And I was sitting there and said, hey, what if someone could make a low-carb pasta that actually tasted good? And I don't know how many of you actually shop in the grocery stores and you've seen some of these low-carb pastas that are out there today. And if you've been brave enough to try them and said, I think I'd rather eat a FedEx envelope than eat this pasta. And the reason is what they do ultimately is, as I found out, was they substitute out all of the starches and the stuff that makes it taste good, and they put in other stuff like soy, or in some cases actually sawdust, in order to reduce the carb content. Well, that's great from a carb and calorie content, not very good from a texture and flavor content. So we said, why don't we start a company and figure this thing out? So we did. Started a company called Smarter Foods, and we ultimately came up with, I will spare you most of the technical details, but I'm kind of proud of what we did. It took us a little while, but we but we found out a way to make a low-carb pasta. Our pasta actually has about 50% fewer carbohydrates and 50% fewer calories than regular pasta, but at the same time, we do not actually take out any of the starches, so the flavor and the texture is the same. What we do instead, and this picture would tell you, we basically add an organic, all-natural food additive during the pasta hydration process. And what does that do? It strengthens the starch walls and ultimately makes the carbohydrates act like fibers. Some of you probably know what that means. I didn't know what that meant about 5 years ago. But ultimately, when you look at us, we have a higher fiber content than most pastas. And you just can't, you basically don't break down all the pasta or all of the starch in the pasta so you don't get all the carbohydrates. So we're excited about this. We have patented this process. I can tell you a patent number somewhere or another, and it is very dry reading. But we said, hey, we got to go do something about this. And one of the other things, what we found out, we had all kinds of clever little marketing things that we thought about doing. One of the things about pasta as well is you can't cook it under pressure. It's a soft product, and so I don't know how familiar you are with the food processing business, but one of the things that no one can do with pasta today is this convenient retort packing where it's already pre-cooked in a package. You just open it up, put it in the microwave, and eat it. So the closest thing out there today is like this Kraft Easy Mac, which tastes terrible, and by the way, you still have to boil the water and put it in there and mix it and everything else. So we wanted to do something that was completely pre-cooked, and you can't do that with pasta because it blows up if you cook it under pressure. But our pasta, since we strengthened the starch walls, you could actually cook it under pressure. So we decided we were going to launch this retort pasta. Oh, by the way, along the way, we actually determined why wheat pasta turns brown, and we found a way not to make it turn brown, so our wheat pasta actually turns out white, it was a huge problem that General Mills was having when they were talking to us. We were talking to General Mills about selling some product. They said, we want to sell pasta to kids, and all the moms want wheat, but all the kids say, that's gross. So we basically did some research and really over the weekend figure out why wheat pasta turns brown. We found there was a catalyst in it. We found a way to neutralize the catalyst. Didn't even change what was in the package. It's really neat. We patented that one too. But anyway, we decided we're going to launch this retort pack low-carb pasta and decided, hey, we've got to go out there and figure this out. So I'm going to give you a quick history on retort because this is what I do today and I love it. And so even if you don't, you're going to learn something about it today. But I feel like you're going to really love it too when you're done and go out and buy something that's retort packed. Well, first of all, what does retort mean? It basically means the the product that you're eating has been cooked inside the container. The bad pun canonical example is the tin can. Everyone's seen this since time immemorial. But whether or not you know that, if it's a soup, it's actually been cooked inside the can after it's already been packaged. But that's not the only way that you can do something that's cooked inside the package. There's all kinds of different form factors that you can use as well. Well, we decided to do everything in a pouch. What's the pouch? It's this very complicated thing that you do that has polypropylene and nylon and everything else, but it's flexible. And what you can do is basically cook the product in the pouch, open it up, and then someone can eat it. It's been very popular for years and years in Europe. It's been very popular in the US military. That's what MREs are typically made of. So this is what we decided we can do. Quick concept with somebody who is more graphically oriented than I am. But you can think about it as a flexible can, but we don't have to use high sodium in the liner, so we don't have that high sodium content, which helps from a healthy lifestyle perspective. So we decided we're going to put pasta in this. Why did we want to do this? Well, processing time is about 50% faster than if you're going to put this in a can. Simple concept, a can is about this big around, and to get heat penetration into the middle of it, it takes a while. Ours are, about this thin to get heat penetration pretty fast. So you can cook things a lot faster in a pouch. Very important nowadays, a lot to reduce shipping costs. It's just not as heavy, both for the empties and as well as for the blank pouches. And as consumers focus more and more on healthy lifestyles, we don't have the high sodium content that you typically see or you have to see really in a can. So we're pretty committed to doing this. So the retort problem is just heat and enjoy. Again, we've got supermodels. I don't know how we can afford them. So anyway, our problem was who was going to make it. We had a research and development company. If you don't, I want to take this off. We had a research and development company, and we had patents and all kinds of great ideas, but we didn't have a single manufacturing asset. And so we said, okay, we went out and scoured the country. It didn't take long to scour the country for retort packers. There were only 5. And visited all of them. And at the time, there are more now, but there were 5 then. Visited all of them, and we found the company that had all of the equipment and everything that we needed in order to do this. Of that 5 is a company called Gish Foods. It looks like Gix, but it's Gish. It's Austrian, so just go with it. Here's really what ends up happening. You have to fill it on these big $1 million pieces of equipment, and this thing rotates around, and it cooks food, and it drops the food into a pouch. These are what these pouches look like. You put them on these big racks. These big racks are then loaded into this big cooker, and then once and how does it cook? It cooks under high temperature, high pressure, about 30 psi, 240 to 250 degrees by spraying jets of water all over the food. And so obviously you can't get 240 degree water unless it's under high pressure. So that's basically what these things do. When one of these things start up, it sounds like a jet engine. It's pretty impressive, actually. One of these cookers is bigger than this stage. But anyway, that's how you cook this food. And what Gish did different than anybody else, while the food was being cooked, they oscillated it. And the key of the oscillation is, as you're moving all the food around, you even further rotate processing time, and on top of that, by mixing the food, you have much more even cooking. So the product quality was better than what anybody else was doing. We got all excited. We were ready to launch our product. We've got fancy packaging and got this company that works for Nike to do all of their branding, to do our branding and everything else, and we're about to launch. We had Amazon. They were going to stock our product, and we had 2 natural foods distributors ready to go to stock our product and get them out to the stores. And then we discovered that Gish Foods had a whole bunch of financial problems. And we said, uh-oh, we can't launch a national product out here with a supplier that's about to go bankrupt. So it was a problem. What ended up happening is the initial investors and founders of Gish Foods got all their money from the hotel industry. The hotel industry wasn't doing very well. They were pulling money back out of the company. It was in trouble. So we got together and said, hey, you know what? As I told you, I had 4 manufacturing facilities before, and every one of them got outsourced to either China, Vietnam, or Mexico, and I said I don't really like that, but realized, hey, we grow food in the United States. We're still a net exporter of food. We eat the food in the U.S. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to ship it someplace overseas to process it and bring it back. And on top of that, with the FDA and the USDA, it's very complicated to do that and get the regulatory ability to bring it back into the U.S. So we decided we just would buy Gish Foods. So instead of all the money we had set aside, which wasn't enough, set aside to buy, to launch our national product and do an advertising campaign, this, that, and the other, we put the money into Gish Foods and bought that company and said, okay, we've got to go around now and fix it. Because obviously they were struggling financially right as we bought them. They just had better technical competence than anybody else in the industry. If you remember, one of the names on my list was a company named General Mills, was a customer I had. Went and talked to General Mills, and it was pretty nice. They, the first meeting was when I told them, hey, I bought this company. They said, it's a startup. We don't do business with startups. They wanted for us, they had actually visited the plant prior to when I bought it, and that's why I was going to talk to them. They said, but we can't do business with startups. We wanted to, our technical team wanted to, everything else, but it's just one of our policies. And I said, okay, well, what do you mean? When is it not a startup anymore? And they said, usually our suppliers have been in business at least 10 to 15 years. And I said, well, I guess I'll see you in 10 to 15 years, because we haven't been here long enough. But they started talking, and some of the people that I knew talked to some other people that they knew, and that's kind of the way the world works. They came back and told me, hey, we have done business with you at Guy Brown and you for at least 5 years. If you become CEO of Gish Foods, we'll probably award you this contract. I said, you remember my feet? Well, they were actually not my feet, but that were supposed to be on the beach. Well, this was a month afterwards, and so I didn't even get to the beach. It was November when I resigned. I didn't go to the beach in November. And I became CEO of Gish Foods because we wanted this contract with General Mills. Sure enough, as soon as I said yes, they awarded us the contract. That was in October. We launched with them in December. It's still the fastest launch any of their new vendors have ever done for any product for General Mills. It has gone, that part has gone really well for us. We make a lot of products for Old El Paso. Today, if you go into really any grocery store or a Walmart or a Target or a Walgreens, you will see them, buy them, because they indirectly benefit me. And I need these SKUs to move so they don't cancel them. But they're growing still today. They just awarded us 4 additional SKUs that we're about to start making for them in October, so it's pretty exciting. So we did, and one of the things I forgot to mention, I'm vegetarian, so I can't even eat most of the stuff that we make. But I'm told it's quite good, and as long as it keeps selling, I don't really care. We also do a lot of private label grocery store foods that compete with the Uncle Ben's brand. I love Uncle Ben's, not because I've ever bought any of it, but they really were the ones that kind of led the way and spent the money to put retort packing on the shelves. And now that they've spent all that money, all the grocery store chains want to come in behind them and to put a private label product, which we're very happy to do. So we make all of Super Value private label rice today, which Winn-Dixie is one of those brands. You guys from all over the place, I can't get them here, though we just landed Harris Teeter a couple weeks ago, so we hopefully will start seeing some of our products. We also make a lot, not a lot, one of our, I guess our third largest customer is a supplier to the U.S. military for MREs. What we typically do is not sell to the U.S. government for standard use, but really for emergency use for rescue workers. So after the earthquakes or tornadoes, we end up getting spike orders to go feed rescue workers, and so that's what we, those are products that we make. Anyway, so that's what we do inside Gish Foods today. We're very excited about this. We just got this GFSI Level 2 certification. That's the Global Food Safety Initiative. It's been a huge push inside the food industry in general to make the U.S. food supply safer. The headlines are never good when something bad happens. And so there's in addition to the USDA and the FDA now, and we are USDA and FDA certified, in addition to that, we are now GFSI certified at Level 2, which means not only, Level 1 means you have a plan, Level 2 means you're actually producing it safely. So we have that now, and we are one of 2 retort packers in the U.S. that have that, so we're pretty excited about that. But that's been really, really big for us because now that's become the de facto standard for all the grocery store chains. It's more stringent than USDA or FDA certification, so we're getting lots of phone calls right now from all the major folks about being able to make product for them. Unfortunately, we don't have any more manufacturing capacity, and so that's really what the plan is. What's the plan? Well, we need money. That always helps, but we need money so we can increase our manufacturing capacity. We're running 2 shifts 5 days a week right now. We run some weekends, so we're pretty busy. We've got enough orders to fill up another half line, so we're looking for capital for the plant expansion as we speak, but it's pretty exciting right now. We just landed, if any of you guys shop at Whole Foods stores, and since convenience will be great when you're in business school. We just landed a new customer called Fig Foods, which was their supplier of the year last year, and we're going to start making all of their soup, and it's like an organic kosher soup that goes into Whole Foods. So we're excited about that one as well. So anyway, that's kind of what we're doing. So I've told you a lot of stuff about me, and you're probably sitting here wondering, beyond hopefully being entertained at least mildly for a while, what the purpose of this was. And frankly, when I gave this speech the first time, it was to introduce me to a group of people that you'll be in about 10 or 15 years when you graduate and you're sitting on the board of the Alumni Association. But when Tammy, I said, I'm not really sure what the point is for incoming students. So, but it was great. I was talking to Dean Bradford right before we started, and he said one of his themes was reinventing yourself. And I said, hey, I'm the poster child for reinventing yourself. I've done it many times. And again, every time I've done it without telling my wife. Again, I'd never learned that one. But so last night, before I even heard this, I came up with, hey, what's the point? And I will give you 2. One I thought was good, and one was kind of my personal motto. First of all, it's never too late to reinvent yourself. And business school is obviously a prime opportunity. Lots of you are thinking about, hey, I worked in the finance industry before. I'm going to get my MBA and go back to the finance industry. That's great if that's what you want to do, but this is an opportunity for you to do anything you want. If you've got a passion for it, anything you want after you leave here. And you know what? If you make a mistake, 5 years later, it's still an opportunity for you to do anything you want. Every day is that opportunity, and so it's never too late to do that. And this is what I kind of live by: grow old before you grow up. Every day, I mean, I've got a tremendous passion now for what I do. I loved office supplies. No, I can't really say I did. I mean, selling pens and paper wasn't that exciting. It helped that we sold lots of it. But I really liked who I worked with. I really liked our customers. But at the end of the day, there was no passion for it. You just couldn't get excited about, hey, I moved some more paper clips today. Today, we're helping people eat healthier. We're hopefully being able to launch some products that are going to help diabetics have more options in their lifestyle. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's something that's pretty exciting. And I get an opportunity to talk to groups like you and tell you that, I love what I do for a living. And I don't know what it'll be tomorrow. I don't think I ever have, but I kind of keep an open mind and try to keep it fun wherever you go. So those are kind of my messages to you guys. This is a wonderful school. It's a great opportunity. I'm glad you're all here. I'm glad in 2 years at the latest, we'll all be alums from this school. What I found from Owen is if I ever pick up the phone and call an alum, they'll always pick up the phone and talk to you and do whatever they can to help. Please keep that going when you're done. That's one of the greatest attributes. We've got a small class. Everyone knows each other. You know, unlike some of these huge business school classes at some of these other schools where you might know everyone or you're competing with them no matter what, that's not what this school is about. It is, as I said, it's a community, and absolutely treasured my time here. And maybe now with some new programs, I can come back and do something, you know, maybe get a master's in finance or something. It'd be great. All right, guys, I'm done. Thank you.